What is up? Welcome to the Next Guy Up podcast. Today, we have a lot going on. We have our second to last, our penultimate college football ranking release to talk about. There's been some heat over this one. A lot of people did not like some of the results, and so we will get into some of those things here in a second. We also, we've got some other stuff to talk about. Even into some today, actually, as we record, it's National Signing Day. I don't know how much National Signing Day we're going to do, but it's happening today. We're not deep into the recruiting stuff as much. Mason and Tins are deep into the draft talk. College recruiting is like, if you actually want to keep up with it, it's like a full-time job.
Yeah,
College
it really
high school
does seem like that.
And the portal coverage is insanity. So I'm not sure that we have the juice to cover that today, but
maybe we should move some Next Guy Up podcast funds around and send us to some high school games and look at some of these top recruits. Yeah,
we gotta get a guy to go watch the high school games.
So if you're an intern that needs some college credit, but
we cannot pay for travel,
we cannot pay for anything.
Salary. So we have some food for thought today. We got
Always
some
hungry.
press releases.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot to cover today.
Lot to cover.
There's a big week in college football for sure. We all knew this was coming, but we have a final spot. Well, let's get to college football in a second. Before we get there, something more important happened in the world.
Way more important.
Joe Burrow decided that he was going to buy a Batmobile for $3 million. This Batmobile apparently has 525 horsepower. It weighs 5,500 pounds, imitation gun turrets, and a smokescreen delivery system. There are only 10 of them in the world.
I saw that.
He owns one. I'm going to go on record and say this is cooler than owning like a $3 million sports car.
For sure.
Like,
now,
there's a lot of $3 million sports cars in the world. Rolling around in this thing would be dope.
Is it street legal though? Could you just like get it out on the streets? I'm sure if you're Joe Burrow and you're like, hey man, he said something about driving it to a game.
I have a couple questions.
One day. Yes.
One.
Let's shoot him.
Who's doing maintenance on this thing? Like, who's changing the oil?
To your Ford dealership.
Who's changing the oil on the Batmobile? If you like get a flat tire on the side of the road, is AAA going to come and like change it? Is there a spare tire?
That is a great question. These are questions that need to be asked.
It's got to be like a base car. Yeah. If the Cybertruck's bulletproof, we're going to make this thing bulletproof too. Does the little, if you look at a picture of it, it looks just like the one from The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Could the little, I forget what they call it, the little motorcycle pop out of it, like in The Dark Knight? Would be electric.
So it would be. If there's 10 of these, did they need all 10 for the movies? I'm assuming.
No, I think these are not like movie
so they
props.
Weren't even.
These are like actual vehicles.
Okay.
That were produced for people to buy.
And there's only 10
I know
of them.
that a lot of the movie. I've just watched some like shorts about this and stuff, but in the movie, a lot of the stunts were actually done with smaller versions of the car. Like they're like 1/3 size of real cars. So they're much larger than just like a model car, but they're not anywhere near the big. So they could film it they could build an entire like soundstage just a little bit smaller to record stuff in. So they don't have to build it to full size. Pretty crazy. I've watched some videos. You should watch it look up on YouTube, like Dark Knight filming Batmobile scenes, because it's pretty wild. Like the one where they're in the garage and the garbage truck and the Batmobile are going towards each other. And it goes underneath it. That's like done on a tiny like model stage. It's pretty cool. But anyways, Joe Burrow now owns a Batmobile.
Yeah,
it got me thinking about. Sorry, what did you say?
I was just gonna say I saw a clip of it on Hard Knocks where he said he will get it in a
Mhm.
year. So I'm like, are they just now?
Custom
Are
building
they?
it for a year.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, it does say fully functional but not street legal. I'm now seeing this.
Mm.
So question. That's actually much lamer.
What do you do
Um,
with a non-street legal car?
I mean, you could.
You
It's
just
not
park
like
that
built
sucker
for
in your
off road,
garage.
probably.
Put
Yeah,
it in the
that's a
middle
good
of your living
question.
room. That's a talking piece when you invite
It's
guests
much
over. It's
less
just
cool.
yeah.
But what are you gonna do? Like pull over a Batmobile? You can get like
I
a
guess
police escort places if you wanted
yeah.
to. I don't know. Now they missed
Okay.
the playoffs officially. Maybe not
It's true.
anymore, Cincinnati. So the question is, if you, let's say I gave you $3 million and said you are not allowed to spend this on anything reasonable. Like this cannot be spent on your house or like put it into savings or investing. Like this has to be used for something
Ridiculous.
crazy. What are you picking?
So I have thought of this and it did not take me long
Okay.
because so I didn't know that I guess it's not a house. So this is like a structure.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know who this person because I'm just a little bit older than you, so you probably weren't watching like MTV. But Rob Deerdeck, he had Ridiculousness TV
Okay.
show. He also had
Fantasy
Rob Deerdeck's
Factory.
Fantasy Factory, and
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it. Didn't, but apparently there's like 7 seasons. But he had a 25,000 square foot complex, and this thing is like skating park with like a rock wall, a foam. What would you call that? Like a they
Foam
had like
pit.
trampolines, foam pit, anything that you could think of in this thing. Also, a newer version of that would be Dude Perfect.
Yeah.
Dude Perfect has just like it's basically just like a a playground for adults of just like skate park, things that you can do. Just I feel like I'd be probably more fit and more entertained if I had something like that.
Yeah.
Be pretty cool, right? Look up like
No, for
next guy
sure.
up or well, the next guy up should have something like that. Look up I just forgot Dude Perfect's like setup
That's very
and
cool.
tell me and then next guy up need to move some funds around and get some I don't know if that would cost $3 million. That seems like that would cost a little more. So I'm probably
Probably. I
breaking
mean,
the
if you're
bank,
building a
but
whole like warehouse or whatever. Yeah, I was thinking this along the same lines. Honestly, I think um like a basketball court. But I also would do like a huge movie theater. Is kind of where I think I would break my bank. I would do
that'd be pretty cool.
a big theater room with some like dope seats, have some movie memorabilia around, like a really nice projector, and like make it fire, like sound system.
That would be
I think
cool.
that would be awesome. But
Um,
I also would like a basketball court, um, like a little indoor gym would be sweet. That might, I mean, that's a little more functional, but
I was
building
gonna say
a gym with like a basketball court and stuff would be pretty awesome.
so we kind of had similarities there. Was it your bachelor party that we went to a paintball? Did the paintball?
You, yes, actually, it was.
It'd be so cool to have something like that set up as well. That's irresponsible. That's something that's pointless and not functional. Just like
Paintball.
a war scene paintball set up in your backyard.
Okay, something else that would be cool.
Yes, we're
An
just
underground bunker. I mean, that would be sick. Like, just have underneath your house, have stairs that just lead down there. I mean, that's functional, but also just kind of cool. Like, it can be functional because obviously you can use it for stuff, but having it where you could just go down there at any time and you're literally under the ground, that would be sick.
or you see these videos of like people that you see them in movies and stuff of like the secret lair or the man cave where you just like pull a book and like a that would be pretty that's
Yeah.
not functional. You don't need that, but
Like you
we
pull it,
three
but it's
mil
like a spiral staircase down and you just have like a
yes.
secret room under the ground. That'd be awesome.
We're cooking on some ideas here.
There's something there
Three
probably.
mil. That's way better than Batmobile that you can't even drive on the road. That's not street legal.
I mean, those things are at least like reasonable, sort of
It takes you point A to point B.
semi-reasonable.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about the Batmobile. That's probably more responsible than what we picked out.
No,
Ours
definitely
is
not.
leisurely.
Tim said he
Well,
would buy his own Taco Bell franchise so he can have free Taco
yes.
Bell whenever he wants.
I was also going to bring that up because have you seen the or the Taco Bell commercial that has Devonte Adams in it, and it's like him just chilling in his house, and he just walks to the kitchen, and there's a pickup window, and it's like the Taco Bell sign.
No,
Oh,
that's
well, they
awesome.
have something like that, and I'm like, I imagine like just going over to hang out at Tinsley's, and he has a Taco Bell window, and I can just pick up my Mexican
Heck
pizza
yeah.
or my quesadilla, the chalupa. Chalupa's about, yeah. Gotta have a chalupa.
Okay, I have one
Okay,
other
fun little
thing.
workshop there.
I have one other
Do it.
thing.
Yes.
So I've been watching a good bit of Jeopardy recently.
Mm-hmm.
Megan, my wife, likes to have the news on in the afternoons, and then if you wait long enough, Jeopardy comes on eventually after Wheel of Fortune. Our lives very exciting, and Jeopardy is fun. I'm not super good at it, but I watch enough and I know enough to get some questions right and stuff, so it's fun. If there was one game show you could go on that you feel like you could actually win money on, what would it be?
So I don't know if I'd actually win, but I think I'd have a good attempt. Well, I don't know. Everybody's probably would laugh at me. I feel like if I did some training, I love obstacle courses. Like
Mm,
I think Ninja Warrior and those guys are freaks on there. Don't get me wrong. It's way harder than it probably actually looks.
you could train though.
Yeah, I feel like that would be
Everybody on
something.
there trains pretty hard, I think.
Definitely not Jeopardy ever. No,
Jeopardy's
I could not
hard.
do
No, that's like a
Jeopardy.
very certain amount of people can actually compete on there.
And you brought up Wheel of Fortune. I'm not even. I can't. Like I look at this and I'm like, what? How'd you get that? Like
Wheel of
I
Fortune
never answer it
is the
first.
lowest IQ game show.
You think so?
Definitely.
Well, it depends on the game show because I was even thinking like Wipeout would be funny. Wipeout is
Well,
like,
yeah, those are physical, I guess.
yeah.
Wheel of Fortune is basically just like it's like a good bit of luck, and then just do you have any amount of common sense in your body?
Well, apparently I have
A lot
none
of people
because I'm really
don't.
bad at
I mean,
it.
you're just spinning a wheel and then it's landing somewhere. So like, there's no skill involved in that.
I got one that's less skilled than that. They
Okay,
don't have it anymore, but Deal or No Deal. That was just randomizing, like picking
that
cases. Yes,
is
there was a point where the
true.
banker and you had to like do odds versus like what you should accept to what if you should keep pulling cases, but
Yeah.
it's kind of just by random. You're just picking one.
Oh, it's
I changed
gambling
my
for
mind.
sure.
We've talked about this before. Well, I think Tinsley would still be better at this than me, but Survivor. I think this is more of I don't know if I could actually win, but I
It's like a
would want to
reality
try
show,
these. Yeah, that's not a game show, I
but
guess. You're
Survivor
right.
would be fun. Yeah, I think
What was yours?
Survivor would be cool. I don't know. I saw a game show, and it was like I think it was called The Grid. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Is it actually called that? They were all like in a grid, and then you had to compete with each other. And basically, they would show like a bunch of pictures, and you had to name what it was in different categories. Each person had a category assigned to them, and then like something you were considered yourself an expert in, and someone would have to challenge you, and you'd have to go back and forth naming off like what's on the screen. And the longer you take, the more your time runs out. And so the last person with time left gets to stay and then go challenge someone
Hmm.
else. Let me make
Okay.
sure what it's called. I think it's called The Grid or something like that. It's probably newer, but it was actually kind of cool. Ooh, definitely not called The Grid. The
We're doing
Floor.
good.
It's called The Floor.
The
Sorry.
floor. I just saw this on here.
Yep. The
Okay, that's
Floor
pretty cool.
is yep, that's it. Cool. It's fun though. It was better than I like watching an episode on accident, kind of, and it was better than I thought it was
Is
going to
that
be.
Rob Lowe?
Rob Lowe is the host. That is
Yep.
correct.
So I just put in
I could
a
be good at
list of
that.
game shows. The Price is
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud, Deal or No Deal. Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Fear
I could do good
Factor.
at that, I think, probably.
Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Yeah,
You were a teacher for a little bit, so you
true.
probably have. The Floor is on here. I don't know if The Bachelor. I don't. That's not considered like what we're talking about. That's more reality. Is it
Yep.
Cake?
That's the dumbest of them. That's actually less IQ than Wheel of Fortune.
Survivor, The Amazing Race. Is it Cake
Amazing
though?
Race is one that I always thought would be fun. We used to watch it, and I always thought it would be a fun time. You get to travel the world.
Travel. Yeah, you
I
get to
don't know if I could do
do
some
and
of the
see
like
things that.
eating challenges and things, but
Yeah,
it could be fun.
Fear Factor would not be fun. Or did you pick one that you had the most probability of winning?
Um,
Because we picked some that we just enjoy doing.
yeah, of winning, I don't know. That is a good question. I didn't
Hmm.
actually flesh out the answer to it before I said it. Maybe
That
it
was
is
your
floor.
question.
Maybe it's floor.
The floor. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a nice little exercise there. While we're in like the shows, movies, let's and I know we've talked about this quite a bit, but Gladiator 2 has been in the news once again. It is officially, did this shock you, Zach, at all? It is officially the highest grossing film of Denzel Washington's career.
Wow.
Does that shock you?
I mean, that is saying a lot. He's been in some big time movies.
So it had me, and you saw a list. Let me know if this doesn't, because I had to look it up. I did not just like come across this on social media. So let me know if this doesn't line with
The
yours.
list.
I've never seen this movie, but his second highest would be American Gangster, Safe House, Philadelphia, The Pelican Brief, The Equalizer. That I was shocked to see that one so far down. So let's see. I'm not seeing Inside Man, Deja Vu, Unstoppable, and Flight. So those are the top 10. Book of
Mm,
Eli did not make the list. I have seen that. But
rip.
I was shocked. Remember the Titans also did not make it into the top 10.
That's wild.
Those
Deja
that
Vu is
was
a pretty good movie. I like Deja Vu.
Remember the Titans number 14 at 137. Deja Vu, I've not seen it. So should I put that on my list?
You should. It's good. Yeah.
It was
Um, I like the
seventh.
Equal. I recently watched all the Equalizer movies, and they're very good. Very good. Yeah,
So
I
top
am
of the
excited for the
list.
movie. I still would like to see it. That is pretty shocking that it shot up to number one because I've not even heard a lot of good. I've not got to watch it yet, but
Yeah,
I've heard it's kind of mediocre in some ways. I've heard the action is really good, so Mason will probably love it.
I'm here for it.
I've heard some of
No,
the plot and dialogue are a little bit less so, but
well, I think it was just kind of a sequel money grab, if you ask me, but I'm sure it's still good. So I don't know if the some of the playwriting. Well, one last thing, I saw this. Did you see? Speaking of movies, and we've talked about this as well. Uh, Moana 2
mm,
sales higher than the the it's breaking records over like the opening for Thanksgiving everything. Uh, Number one box office opening for Moana 2 and Red One in the same month. So The Rock, who knew, having a heck of a
the
weekend
red
there.
one that looks
Oh,
pretty
have you
good.
not seen this?
I've seen trailers for it and stuff, but it did not look very good.
Highest Thanksgiving weekend of all time, Moana 2,
Yeah, I believe that.
225 million.
Moana is a sensation. I've also heard the songs on Moana aren't very good though. She got Tim's on
Hot
here to talk
take.
about it because he watched it. I think.
Maybe next time he's
Yeah, we
on
need to
here.
get his
So,
review for sure.
so that was our movie update on there. You had some McDonald news. I wanna hear about.
I do. So there's a guy. He is named Gary. He traveled to 100 McDonald's globally to find a bunch of crazy locations. It's called the Mick Atlas. the McAtlas. He just tried to find some of the most obscure McDonald's with some of the most interesting, unique. He found a couple of that he called his favorites. One is called the McSki in Sweden. He said it took 6 hours to get there, but it's like on top of a mountain. It's like a ski resort, so that's pretty cool. He found one. There's one in China that he really liked. It's apparently really big, and it's like in this very cool looking ancient Chinese street. So that's pretty cool. There is one in an airplane in New Zealand.
Huh.
There is a McDonald's that's shaped like a UFO in New Mexico, kind of that Area 51 vibe. And there is one in this huge like house. It looks like the White House kind of in Brazil, Sao Paulo. So there's some pretty cool ones out there. Seems like a very cool book, actually. I would like to visit some of these locations. Trying to travel the world just to go to McDonald's is kind of up my alley. So
yeah, when you brought this up, I was kind of interested in buying this book. To be honest,
Atlas.
It doesn't. Yes, the Atlas. We should get this guy on the pod.
Let's go.
Interview him ourselves. Tinsley's not here to just DM him while we're on the pod, but maybe we could do that next time. But I'm very interested in that. Speaking of McDonald's, did you have anything else for that? Because I was going to talk about another holiday McDonald's thing going on.
You're good. Hit it.
The Grinch Happy Meal. Is it officially called? Because I thought you said it was the McGrinch earlier, but I don't even see that on here.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I made that up.
But the Grinch has taken over with a Happy Meal box. It's literally what you think. It's the traditional Happy Meal box with like Grinch and the Christmas hat
cool.
on. Here's the thing, though. I have a little bit of bone to pick with McDonald's in America.
Ooh.
So you got the box, the Grinch Miss plushies and games with Grinch and Max plushies and 3 different card games. There's also a 12 Days of Grinchmas. Explore 12 Days of Grinchmas with the Grinch, a book, and then they have like coloring book stuff. So how I came across this, I actually found on social media. It was in Canada, they have a Grinch meal. Get this. It comes with Grinch socks. Okay, that's kind of the lame part. Who wants Grinch socks for their
Grinch
Happy
socks,
Meal?
Please.
But kids probably don't want socks. But this is the part that I was interested in. Dill pickle McShaker. So it's like a seasoning, dill pickle seasoning to go on your fries, and also a frozen hot chocolate McFlurry. Which, if you see the picture, which nobody can see except for Zach, is literally what you would think. It's a McFlurry with like the little tiny marshmallows with like a chocolate vanilla swirl in it.
I'd eat that.
So I'm just wondering why Canada gets that and why we don't. That's what I'm mad about.
I will say I've been to McDonald's in Canada, and it was much better than
much better.
McDonald's. Not even joking.
So this is not
much better.
Much better. And I'm sorry, that was a kid's meal in the US. This looks like it's literally a choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets and then the fries. So this is like an adult, like it comes in a box still with the socks, but it's like not a kid's meal with toys. That's probably why they get the socks instead
I like that. Make it for adults.
So way better in Canada. So the US just needs to step up there. Was the Atlas? I wonder if it talked about any Canadian McDonald's.
That's a good question.
Maybe we should buy this thing. Or we just interview them ourselves, like I said.
Review on it.
But in or out on the dill pickle seasoning? It's literally just like
I'm not a huge pickle person.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, not a huge pickle guy.
So let's talk about the next food for thought that's going to transition into college football perfectly.
Love it.
And that would be the good old Pop-Tart.
Mmm.
Yep. We've talked about this in the past a little bit, right?
Yeah,
We
we
were
did.
trying
We
to
had a little
figure out
segment on it.
what. Yeah, I didn't. I hope I didn't throw you a curveball here with the. But I wanted to talk about this because we were guessing. Do you
We did.
remember what you picked? We were trying to guess what the flavor would have
Um,
been,
oh boy, I don't remember.
and Zach sent it this morning, and
Yep.
I was like, I would eat that, hundred
I haven't
percent.
heard of it, but it sounds great.
And the flavor was
So
drum
two of
roll.
them are hot fudge sundae,
Mm.
frosted wild berry, where they already announced ones. The new one it said previously it was discontinued at some point was frosted cinnamon roll. Frosted cinnamon roll. So pretty excited about that. That's actually, I hope that if they bring it back, maybe we should eat some on the pod live. Love a Pop-Tart,
We should do that.
personally.
So with the Pop Tart, they are going to have 3 life size Pop Tarts out there for the bowl game, right? And
Yes.
then does somebody, the winners, like eat the Pop Tart or something?
Yeah, there's like a big thing at the end of the game where the Pop-Tart goes into this humongous toaster, and then when it comes out, it's like a real giant Pop-Tart. And then the players all eat it who win.
Can I make a prediction here?
Yeah.
There's so much money wrapped up in all of this advertisement. And so here's the thing. We talk about this, the Mayo Bowl, that's like a thing. There's like some weird Cheez-It, people
Mm-hmm.
throwing Cheez-It. And you see these highlights all the time. And I'm just like, I think we've opened a can of worms where now every food industry or anything just weird is going to get into these bowl games, and they're going to have some type of crazy celebration where they're like, I don't know, Nutella or some type of random, I couldn't even tell you, like bacon, like just something
Mm.
random with food where people like players, the winner eats this random thing at
Big
the end.
Bacon has not even like a brand. You just want bacon.
I
Like, who's
did.
even
Oscar
sponsoring
Mayer. Oscar
it?
Meyer's like, here, let's
It's
let's
bacon.
it's just bacon. Oscar Meyer's like, here, let's advertise our bacon. I was just trying to think of the most random thing, like some brand
This
cereal. Now we're shooting like Chex
this
Mix or
bowl is
Chex
sponsored
out of
by
or
hamburgers.
hamburgers. No, like Cheerios is like shooting Cheerios out of a cannon or something. I just feel like we're gonna get ridiculous. I'm waiting for the time where there's just like Lunchables being like dropped from the sky, like a plane
Yeah.
like literally flies over the field and drops Lunchables out of the sky.
I like the idea of it being sponsored by like not an actual company, but just like a thing.
Mac and cheese.
This, yeah. This
Sponsored
bowl
by a
is
ham
sponsored by
sandwich.
cereal. And it's like, who's even paying for this? I don't, I just
I'm
wanted
here
the
for
name.
it.
Yeah. What if it was like named after
Bacon.
just a person? Like they don't even want like it
See,
was
I was
the
wondering if
Elon
Jake
Musk
Paul would
bowl.
do something like that. He's got enough money where he would just be
I
like,
mean,
name
they
this
could definitely
bowl
do it
after
for like
me.
one of their properties, like the Mr. Beast, like the Lunchleys or
Yeah.
whatever. That would
Yeah.
not surprise me.
And then all of a sudden you have some type of ridiculous like lunchable thing
Or like
happening
Dude
with the
Perfect
players.
bowl.
There you go.
I
Now
think
we're cooking. Oh,
Barstool
we
used to
brought
sponsor one.
if you had us talking about Dude Perfect like 3 times on this podcast on your bingo card, you
That's
can go
it.
ahead and mark all those off. Yep. Okay, so I wanted to say plenty of time because I know you
Okay.
got some takes
Ugh.
for college football. So how do you want to start this? Do you want to start with the games? Do you want to start with your overall reaction of the playoff standings right now? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we should probably do some playoff talk.
Let's do the playoff talk.
We did a little bit of pre-talk on
Yeah.
Monday's episode, but now we know. Now we know the committees are cowards.
Coward.
Biased. We don't have to do that whole thing here. I think everyone else has already done it. We all know the committee kind of sucks. We know this is always going to be a mess no matter what happened, but here we are in the midst of it. And so we can talk about it a little bit. The rankings, just quickly. let's not even get to the rankings because I think the matchups are more interesting here. There are a couple of intriguing things to still work out, but a lot of the mess has been worked out now. In reality, there's two things that have to get cleaned up, and then we're
Okay.
pretty much good. And they both revolve around the same idea. Here's the idea: will teams who lose their conference championship games be penalized in any way? That's the crux of our problem here. If the answer is no, then then your field is set pretty much. If Boise State loses, then obviously the winner of the Big 12 will jump up into that slot, and UNLV will take the 12th seed. Other than that, though, we're pretty much set. Now, the chaos could happen if the committee decides that they have some liberties to move around people who lose their conference championship games. The biggest question mark is SMU. What happens to an SMU team that loses their ACC championship game to Clemson? Right now, they're slotted in at, I believe they're at number 8 currently on the list. They are at 8. That is true. So what happens if they lose? Do they drop down below Alabama? Or do they kick Alabama down while Clemson moves up into one of those top 4 slots? I don't know the answer to this. I've heard a lot of good arguments both ways. I've heard a lot of people say things like you should not get punished for playing in a conference championship game, or no one's ever going to want to play in them. It's unfair to teams who get to play in those games. If you say you win, you get a bye. If you lose, you're going to drop out. I think most teams would rather just not play in that game.
Yeah.
And so there's a pretty big question mark here of what's going to happen. Or is there an exception for, say, the loser of the Big Ten and the loser of the SEC? Will they, just because of the conference they're in, not drop while they do drop someone like SMU? It almost feels like they have to make a choice in that situation where they're going to drop all of them or drop none of them at all. I think it's pretty unfair to say, oh, sorry, SMU, you're dropping out, while the loser of the SEC championship just stays where they are at. Same with the Big Ten.
But also you're looking at teams that aren't even playing, such as like a Tennessee.
Correct.
And they could benefit if they decide to drop people. They could benefit by just having the weekend off. And people are going to say, "Is that fair or not?"
Which historically this has been true, right? We've seen teams lose conference championship games and then get penalized for it, having an extra loss. I mean, we saw Georgia lose the SEC championship game a couple of seasons ago, and Alabama jumped them for that. A 1-loss Bama jumped a 0-loss regular season Georgia after they beat them in the SEC championship. So we know that that's possible. They have precedent to do this. In my opinion, if they do it, I think it will be the end of conference championships. I think next year, why would anyone want to play in them? I don't get it. But there is a good bit of line on the line here, especially with, I mentioned SMU. If they win, things become a lot easier for the committee. The committee has now determined, this is the piece that's been hotly debated all week, is who is going to get in between Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. The committee made their choice. They said Bama was the best out of those 4, and so that means effectively Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina are eliminated. They're done. Their season is finished.
I saw the odds makers for the books had Alabama just slightly, but they were at plus like 110. They were plus money to get in.
Yeah.
And then it moved in like a 3-day span. Obviously now it's like huge minus money, like they're favored, obviously, with the movement. But a lot of people didn't think before we had this clarity that they were going to get in, according to the
Do you know what the odds are right now?
Let me go look real quick.
That would be pretty interesting to see what people were thinking they're going to happen. The most interesting situation here is SMU loses, and then there's going to be some chaos erupt around the committee. They're going to have to make a choice. So that's the other piece of intrigue here is around the last hosting spot, the 8th seed. The committee chose to put Ohio State over Tennessee, despite their records being their resumes being pretty similar, and Ohio State dropping to Michigan at home as a 21-point favorite. As it stands, the teams hosting would be Ohio State and Columbus, Penn State and Happy Valley, Notre Dame, and the fourth team that would be hosting is the loser of Texas, Georgia, which they're predicting to be Georgia just because of their ranking is lower. So it would be in Athens.
Alabama's minus 390 to make the college football playoff.
So here's the thing. That's pretty disturbing to me. Because what is SMU's chance? Do you have an SMU?
SMU is minus 400.
See, they both
So
can't
even better odds.
Both those teams aren't going to go.
So if that's the thing, wouldn't you be better off?
Well, I guess they both could go. If SMU wins, then Alabama's in. So I guess they're basically saying it's the SMU is minus 400 to beat Clemson.
Because I was going to say it's plus 275 for Alabama not to make it and plus 280 for SMU not to make it. Let me go see what SMU's odds are.
What's the odds for SMU to beat Clemson?
Hold on, I'm looking. Is that game on Saturday? Saturday night at 7 p.m. It's minus 135 for them to beat Clemson.
Okay, so that's crazy to me. This is crazy talk.
Crazy talk.
These numbers don't make sense, right? Because
if you're doing the math the way you saw it, yes, go ahead.
SMU is minus 135 to win the game.
Yep.
But they're minus 400 to make the playoffs. If they lose the game, then either SMU or Bama is getting kicked out. So the fact that they're only minus 135 to win, but then the odds of both making it are like minus 400 each, don't really compute to me.
This makes me want to take plus money on everything. Plus 114 to Clemson to win, and plus like the 300 for neither team to make it.
For neither team to make it?
Like just bet both. Yeah, just does that make sense? So bet no for Alabama at plus 275 and bet no for SMU not to make it at plus 280. Because if at least one doesn't make it, then you've still made money. If you bet $10 on both, you risked $20, but your lowest amount to win is $37. So then your profit is $17. If at least one of them doesn't make it. Does that make sense?
So you're basically just betting on SMU losing to Clemson.
Correct. But that's better than taking Clemson plus 135.
Yeah.
Because does that make sense?
So, I mean, there is a reality where SMU wins and then SMU and Bama both get in. And that's the most likely scenario, right? That's minus 135 to happen, basically.
Is there any way that Oregon doesn't get the 1 seed? Because they're minus 175. I'm going off
minus 175 for what?
To get the number 1 overall seed.
Well, that's just them beating Penn State. If they beat Penn State, that's easy.
Easy money.
They'll 100% be number 1 overall.
Okay.
So that's basically the odds for them to beat Penn State.
What is the odds? Let me look.
No, that is the odds.
Oh, that is the odds.
Basically just the odds for them. Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
That's probably enough sports gambling number talk, but
yeah, sorry.
I think that's the most interesting and intriguing situation happening right now. The other one is that the committee's basically said that Boise State is ranked higher than Arizona State in such a way that makes you think that if Boise State wins, they will have a bye, no matter what happens with Arizona State. And so if Boise State wins, which they're going to be favored, they will have a bye in the playoffs, which is wild stuff. And so we don't have to remitigate the whole like, do we need buys? Is it fair that a Boise State team is going to get a bye week while Tennessee, Ohio State play in the first round, and the winner of that gets to go play Oregon? I think that's a fair argument. I think Oregon gets pretty screwed over in that situation. Whereas someone like Penn State or the loser of the Big Ten championship gets to play Arizona State and then Boise State back-to-back weeks. I don't know. It's a wild system. I think we're knocking some kinks out. I think next year we will not have an auto buy situation with an auto bid because I think that's just caused a lot of chaos. I think if Boise State gets this bye week, everyone's going to lose their minds over it because what an insane thing for Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame to be playing in the first week, and then Boise State to get a bye. What kind of world are we living in? So that's where we're at. Let's do just a little bit of conference championship talk while we're here.
Yes.
And talk about some of the big ones. I mean, we've got 4 Power 4 plus. I mean, the Boise State UNLV game is for a playoff bye essentially. So let's start with SEC rematch, Georgia Texas. This is a pretty interesting game. Georgia obviously had the upper hand in Austin in the first week. Since then, Georgia has looked pretty bad. Georgia struggled against Georgia Tech. I mean, 8 overtimes, just nearly lost that game. While Texas played a pretty dominant game in Texas A&M, and it looked pretty good. These teams, but Texas notably has not beat a top 25 team this season. The only really competitive game they've had was Georgia, and they got beat pretty handedly. And so I think there's a question of what is this Texas team really about? Have they improved? Do they look better as the season's gone on? Or are we looking at a Texas team that's just been unmatched and is going to struggle? I don't know the answer to that. The line is -3 Texas.
Do you think that is the case? Because wait, it's my well, I see it -2.5.
Texas -3. It's on DraftKings.
So does and then you can keep breaking it down. With it being Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, gonna kind of be an advantage of a home game for Georgia. Does that have any effect on the game, in your opinion?
Georgia will travel for sure. I think Texas will also travel, though. First SEC championship game. I think Texas will travel well. I think there'll be more Georgia fans, but it won't be like 95.5%. Like, it won't be that crazy. I think there are more Texas fans around than maybe you would think. Even if they don't travel from all the way from Texas, there's Texas fans like all over the place.
60-40 maybe.
Yeah, I think they'll be there. A really intriguing matchup. I think Tennessee's best shot at getting a playoff game right now is if Texas beats Georgia by like 3 scores. Embarrasses them a little bit. And I think there's a potential that the committee could knock them down a couple spots. Will that happen? I don't know. But there's that. Okay, next up, Big Ten. We've got Oregon, Penn State. Oregon, 3.5-point favorites. That number seems pretty low to me, I'll be honest. I think Oregon, I am not a believer in Penn State. I will be frank with you. This Penn State team has also been untested, and they've played a 1 game. I mean, both these teams have played a 1 game season, and it was Ohio State. So I guess we can just compare how those games went. Oregon beats them by 1. Penn State loses to Ohio State. Oregon's 3.5-point favorites. Penn State, other than the Ohio State game, has played pretty much no one, but they almost lost to Minnesota at one point. I really like Oregon in this one. I just don't think Penn State, I think, is a pretender. I'm just not convinced that they are a top 3 team in the nation, which is what they're ranked at right now. So that's where I'm at there. You have any thoughts on that one, Mason?
Well, I was gonna ask, does
Mhm.
that move anything? You just talked about some movement. Would that move anything? We're still trying to figure out if you'll get penalized, but
Yeah.
if Penn
Um,
State loses,
See, Penn State is ranked so high right now. They're at number 3. They would have to drop like 5 spots for it to matter.
yeah,
I'm not sure the committee's gonna be willing to do that. They'd have to get beat really bad, I think. Like it'd have to be embarrassing, which could happen. I think the better chance for Tennessee is for Georgia to lose bad, but who knows?
Oregon's just looks so dominant, way more than Penn State has.
I mean,
But it's kind of hard
true.
to. It's
Both their
yeah,
schedules have been pretty soft
both are good.
overall,
You're
which
not
just
wrong.
makes it just pretty tricky to understand.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. Okay, next. Clemson at SMU. This is the big one, obviously. SMU 2-point favorites.
Mm,
All of these games are within a 4-point spread.
pretty close.
SMU 2-point favorites over Clemson. This Clemson team obviously has a lot of talent on it. I mean, Cade Klubnik is there at quarterback. They've got some stars. Clemson always has the players. They have struggled though. They've lost 3 games to their decent opponents. They got beat by South Carolina. They obviously got trounced by Georgia in their first game of the season. This is they lost to Louisville as well. And so they've struggled at times to score. SMU has looked pretty good as of late. And so this is an interesting matchup. I would not be shocked at all if Clemson came out and won this game. I really wouldn't be. And just jack the whole thing up. I would like to see SMU win though, because I think they're a pretty fun story of a team
Clemson wants to play spoiler.
that just joined.
Yeah.
SMU just joined the ACC, kind of was to some derision from some of the longtime members like Clemson and FSU. Thought it was kind of bringing down the caliber of play in the ACC, and then look what happens in year one. They are fighting for playoff spot.
Only loss was BYU.
Correct. Yeah, BYU team
3
that
points.
looked really good earlier in the season when they played
Yeah.
each other. So pretty interesting one. Last one here is the Big 12. Iowa State at Arizona State. A 2-point spread. Arizona State 2-point favorites over Iowa State. These point spreads are what makes conference championships like fun. I think the fact that all of these games are going to be this competitive. There's not these teams at the top are all so close to each other, and the fact the odds or the stakes are high. You know, this Big 12 matchup wouldn't have mattered a whole lot in years past, but all of a sudden we're playing for a playoff bid. And this is going to be a fun game. Both teams, Arizona State has looked really, really good in some big games as of late. I like this Arizona State team. I think they could just go out and win this one outright pretty easy. Iowa State has been a very up and down team. They have a feel of a team that has looked really good at times and has looked very poor at times. And so I like Arizona State there. The last one of note, this one's on Friday night, is UNLV Boise State. This one again is for a playoff spot, right? Boise State has everything to play for. They're going to get a really, really nice draw in the playoff bracket if they can win this one. They will be playing for their lives. Ashton Genty, probably not going to win the Heisman, but has a chance to lead his team, have this Boise State team to a bye week in the playoff, which would be very exciting. Some other games around the nation, and then we can kind of wrap up. Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State. That was also on Friday night. We've got Tulane Army from the AAC. An Army team that's looked pretty frisky at times. Tulane as well, though. That's some fun game. Tulane's actually 4.5-point favorites over the 24th ranked Army. And then you've got Ohio at Miami, Ohio. A 2-point spread there as well. So we're going to have, I think it's going to be an exciting weekend of football. I'm really looking forward to it. Mason, do you have anything else for us?
I do not. I'm just excited and ready for some, because we have a little bit of break until bowls.
Yep.
Yeah, it
week.
looks like the first weekend would be like December 14th.
The 20th, 21st is when the playoffs are going to happen. First round.
Okay. And then we will have Army Navy December 14th and then some bowl games. Yeah, December.
Army Navy. Yeah, that'll be a fun one. Both pretty good this year, so
a little bit of break. No, you did a great job of breaking those down. Now I know who to root for and who not to root for, so I'm ready for it.
Shout out to Tins.
Yep, shout out.
He's working tonight tirelessly. He couldn't be with us on the pod today, but I think I forgot to mention that earlier. Actually, let's throw it over to Tins for his take on the situation.
He's actually recording while he's on the road.
Don't tell UPS.
You didn't say shout out to me anytime during that. And shout out to me.
Shout out to me.
All right. So good work, everybody, on this episode of the podcast. We appreciate you all tuning in. Don't forget to check us out on all of our socials and the Discord. Even though you missed Tinsley tonight, you can still get his picks on the Discord. College basketball.
He's been hot.
College football. We'll throw, maybe me and Zach will throw some picks in there as well. So make sure to check out the Discord. We appreciate you guys listening, and we will catch you on Monday. Have a great one.